Alright, and we are live. What's up, everybody? It is Mr. Drew here to welcome you to another. Oh, hold on, let me get this plugged in here. Don't have my microphone plugged in. Hold on. Alright, let's see if that works. Hopefully it sounds different or better. This microphone that I bought last year is actually doing something. Sorry, I had it plugged into the laptop when I was still trying to see if I could stream from the laptop, but I guess I can't. And it's the same issue as before. It's the hardware just not being able to do it, and it looks like as I was trying to do it, and I was watching all the dropped frames happening, that there was something about I need to have 2 gigabytes of whatever, and it seemed like I only had 1.1 gigabytes. So I'm guessing that's the big thing. Anyways, I was back at it again, so I had my microphone plugged into my laptop rather than my Android like I normally would when I do these streams. Anyways, did I even intro yet? What's up, everybody? It's Mr. Drew here to welcome you to another episode of the Andrew Glowczewski Experience. It's going to be episode 330. We're continuing the Bayonetta study. Continuing to work with these inks and brushes and paint markers.
The rain is doubly painful through being extremely reminiscent of Zack, as the last time we saw Aerith in rain was when she felt his life energy returning to the planet in Crisis Core. But in terms of thematic significance, it's a poetic little line encapsulating the idea of the ending, that concept of uncertainty and fear of the unknown ahead of us. Obviously in a meta way for the future parts of the remake, but also for Aerith, the still sky of Midgar was always an ironic sense of comfort, a safe sky, something that grounded her and gave her a sense of place as she immersed herself in the beauty of the dreams that flooded the city.
Let's see. Let's straighten that up a bit. What's up, senpai? How far have I gotten?
And it's also representative of our own expectations of the game's story. But the feeling of the rain.
How far in what? In which regards?
It's a scary thing, and it's totally understandable to some extent, but it
I'm just gonna take a wild guess and say I haven't gotten that far at all.
and who could overturn, no one knows what lies ahead. And
I spent the last couple hours trying to see if I can get the stream working off of my
exciting. Of course, there's always the possibility that things could be a mess.
off my laptop.
Into a line
That way I can kind of use my webcam and everything like that. And nope, no dice. Yeah. So I just been at that because I was kind of
and some glimpses of these alternate worlds.
really wanting to do that
Sincere respect for
this year,
beats that made Final Fantasy VII special.
and better sooner than later, right? So
But to stomp all over
kind of had my heart set on that, and yeah, it's just
made it clear that they weren't
after a couple hours of messing around with it and
despite a couple of
definitely not getting anywhere.
that with part one. So I don't see that
Kind of just have to
changing.
chalk it up, you know?
And in an interview for the remake Ultimania, producer Yoshinori Kitase said the following: I've talked about this extensively with Nomura, but I'm sure fans of the original are expecting to revisit familiar locations and scenes, so we have strong feelings to not stray away from that. From here on out, we're not drastically changing the story and making it into something completely different than the original. Even though it's a remake, please assume that Final Fantasy VII will still be Final Fantasy VII as usual. Given this, I think it's
Or
worth calling
if we're
attention to
talking
some of
about
the
the
changes and
Bayonetta
modifications that people might see.
studies, let's see,
And
where am I at? Because I want to finish up this page on this stream. I got some time tonight.
more powerful.
One of the
I could very well be wrong,
uh,
but for me,
still
this
going through the
demonstrates a
holiday
clear
work
shift in
schedule, so I only
direction
have one day off instead of two.
that disrespects and
So this is
fulfills
my
the
one night
original.
off. So yeah, I'm
It's
gonna try to
another
get
wording used by the
uh,
industry
get a
players,
couple streams in at
as well as
least,
how it talked about how
and like I
stories
said, like
remain.
finish off this
This
page,
can surmise that
and
this
then
isn't supposed to be a stretch,
start,
and
you know,
maybe,
maybe on the next
maybe,
stream, start the next page and get the
it's
next
a deal
design
that's supposed
going,
to be on the cards.
and
And
which we're
so,
about like halfway
I've
through
approached this
these
narrative because
designs.
I've kept the magic of what made the original special the same, while complementing it through changing just enough variables to give it its own special identity, with the goal of
And
elevating the
that's what, you know,
experience
that's why
and
I
making
kind
it
of want to.
even better due to the remake's existence. There is also an additional significant note to make in this regard, stemming from one more entry in the Ultimania. According to Nomura, he was the one who firmly decided to include the word remake in the title
There
of
we
the
go.
game. This was done to quell any potential doubt about this project being a genuine remake of the original, to dismiss any notions of it being a shallow remaster or a movie or something. But Nomura also admits in this interview that there's an additional second meaning to including the word in the title. And he says that he can't explain that at the moment, but to ask him in a couple of years. So clearly there are subtle nuances to the word that will make more sense once future parts come out. And if you ask me, this dual meaning to remake could very well refer to the interpretation I've constantly referred to of Sephiroth trying to remake the story to suit his needs, the core of his ultimate motivation. But even if that isn't the case, all signs seem to point to this game, all future entries included, being a bold and new direction for the story while absolutely acknowledging and adhering to the soul of its predecessor. And only time will tell, but I for
So
one
yeah, I
believe
definitely want
the
to
next part will absolutely
ramp
live
up
up to the
on
original.
getting more Bayo stuff done, but I still have another week.
So maybe to close out,
And
we'll have us
as
open
far
up
as
to you
scheduling
wanting to
on
hear
my
from your
streams
favorite
go,
third-party
I've
stuff.
been
So if anything
wanting
goes,
to
how's the
do,
approach taken so far, and those words from
you know,
Kitase,
I think I did
how do
really
you think
well
that that
last
went?
year. You
And we
know,
can rest easy
I'm at
knowing
episode
all things
330.
considered, this ends
So,
up
you know, I
being
did over
a
300
really
episodes, and there's
really well
356
produced
days in a
part of
year.
things. And
So
another
it's almost a
factor
stream a day,
significant to this all,
you
I
know.
was left in awe but not sure of how I felt overall. Was I happy and satisfied with this?
Uh,
Was it good?
but even with
Was
that
it
said, I
entertaining?
want to
And was I swept away by badassery and spectacle? But after a replay, some reflection, listening to opinions from
try
others
to
even more,
give myself a
I finally
schedule
saw
that I
that
can
this
work with
spellbinding,
now that
emotional
I have
core that sets
this
forth
work
the original
schedule
has
and
been the foundation for so much, and opening the
um,
future to whatever may come. Final Fantasy VII Remake was a hell of a spiritual successor that, while notably flawed, elevated the characters, deepened the setting, and explored the mythos in a way that I never thought possible, while setting the stage for
and
tons
try to
more
plan it out because I see that
opportunities. So I completely understand if you didn't enjoy the game.
Twitch has like a
Overall, I had
scheduling
such
like
fun with
option
it,
to kind of
and
show
I've
people
eagerly been
like
waiting for
at
part
least what I
two
plan
as
on
soon
doing.
as
So
possible.
I'd
While surrendering
like to
my
try to use
full
that
investment in the
just to give
franchise, it
people
was
like
also
let them
about
know like
delivering
okay, Sundays and Mondays
which was without doubt the most
as
rewarding,
for now will be like the
truly
main days.
captivating gaming experiences I've had in a long time. And I'm fully on board with whatever direction this remake is heading in.
And then
Hopefully, you are too. If you're still here, thank you so much, and I really hope you enjoyed. This
and
has
then
been
like all the other
Glowczewski,
days before
and
that will be
tomorrow
kind of like quick
I will
ones,
see
you
you
know, like kind of like
in exhausted
maybe I'll have a half hour or an hour to stream, and those will be like kind of like small short episodes. But then on Sunday, Monday nights, I could probably try to open those up to be a little bit more like longer streams, like what I want to do tonight. Um, and kind of give myself some consistency and give people something to look forward to and a little bit of understanding so that way they know what days to tune in and things like that. I know especially in recent months I've been kind of random. Is there any other character designs you were thinking about working on as well? Yeah. So I have a ton. I still have a ton of characters to go through. Um, so I mean, how many characters do I have left? Like with the current map that I'm working on, the amount of characters I have on it. Let's check it out. Let's see, because I know I have a copy of the map on my phone here. So this is the current map that I've, kind of been going through, and I'm kind of started in the lower left corner, and I'm working my way up to the upper right. And I've gotten, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got 6 characters done off of this map, and I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have like 7 main characters to go through, so I'm about halfway through the characters just with this on this map alone before I move on. And then right here on this island, I have like this bit of info here, and these have like like a dozen female characters that I want to work on. They're pretty minor characters, but they're kind of throughout the story, and that's what this whole Bayonetta study has been about. Was just kind of like, since I took 5 years off of drawing, it's been a long time since I actually drawn like characters and female characters and things like that. So I kind of sought the opportunity to do this Bayo study to kind of like get me back into drawing, but also uh, help me with drawing female characters and female figures all over again since it's been so long. And yeah, that's it's been a lot. Certainly a lot more than I anticipated it being, but that's fine. So yeah, I got a ton that I'm still going to be working on. I the whole point of like this Twitch channel and everything that I'm doing is just to kind of give y'all a journey uh, to go on with me, because I plan on working on this stuff for a long time, years and years and years and years. So hopefully, we're just getting started here. That's why I try to focus on getting the stream where I want it to be, getting the cameras and all the quality and all that other stuff. So it looks like since my hardware seems to be the issue, I'm like shopping for uh, getting like a streamer PC setup.
naturally make everything feel somewhat weird. You can look at the presentation of the Happy
Yeah,
Master
everything that I'm doing uh,
throughout the game.
is to make a comic book or make a manga since I want to kind of keep it black and white. For the most part, I'll definitely be throwing in color from time to time, but just so I can kind of move through it quickly because obviously time is of the essence. It's so I keep calling it a manga just because it'll be black and white and self-published and everything.
Music speeding up with little
Um,
glitches as the days go by. The Disney
is to
characters
work on my
themselves
own.
and the scenery
These characters are all meant for a story, and
of places like the observatory or the serene fields in the moon. Majora's Mask is abstract and entropic,
here we
and
go.
every little detail we see within this journey richens and adds to that impression more. Clocktown in particular, and Termina as a whole, feel like one of the most believable and immersive settings I've ever experienced. And that is
What
partly
was I
because of how
saying?
uncomfortable it feels thanks to the
So yeah, I'm
scale.
gonna work on a manga, but then those I have a animation degree. My whole thing, my whole story is that I always wanted to work in animation, and I went to school for it, got a degree, and did everything to try to get jobs, and just never got a job. So instead of being a failure, I kind of just said, okay, I'll just make my own. And this is me making my own, but it's an incredible amount of work, without a team and everything like that, or without connections and,
And the
you
most
know,
literal example is, of course,
people
the moon. Any respite in the game is very temporary as the
having like
moon slowly
like-minded people
resists.
to
The
work
universe
with.
seems
Like,
infinite,
it's an
so
incredible amount of work. Not a
honestly,
lot of
this
people want to
might be
do
one of
it.
the most atmospheric and hypnotic games ever. It terrified me
So I'm
as a
just kind
kid,
of doing all of it
and
on
it
my
was the
own.
first time I had
And
felt
I've
something
always been a
truly
character
immersive.
guy
This
and
game
not
wasn't
so
just a
much a
fast-paced story. It was the first time I was horrified by something as abstract as a feeling, something that I couldn't
not
conceptualize
so
with
much a
words.
props and environments kind of guy.
How in the
I never
end,
paid attention to those things,
I wasn't ever frustrated.
and I've had to like kind of go and teach myself those things
Despite
as I
all
was
of the
writing the
obstacles,
story and not doing art for
there's something
a few
alive
years.
sensibilities when it comes to realism.
I started to open up my mind
Especially in
and
video
study
games.
and
I think that is the
uh,
reason for why
all
Majora's
that
Mask
stuff
has
for
become so
props and
beloved.
environments. And now that
Even
I'm
though the
executing all the
gameplay
props and
feels
environments while I'm
repetitive,
doing
you can
characters
see
and all this
why
other
the
stuff.
anxiety is so powerful,
So
and why Majora's Mask is much
yeah,
more
it's just an
than merely a
incredible amount of
quest for
work,
feeling the beauties and tragedies of life. It's a
and
game
it's
that simply wants
kind
to
of what
make
I've
you
signed up for.
experience. There is a melancholy pervading the entire work here, a lot of that centered in an empathetic
So
crux.
yeah, as much as I'd like to work on it with like other people and kind of get to it right away, I've applied for all those jobs. I've contacted all those companies. I've done
Sheer
what I can,
coincidence.
and I mean, at the
This
end of the
game has
day,
always
it
strengthened
just
me
doesn't seem to be in the
as
cards
much
for me.
as it looked as if it would
I
never
still
come to
continue to do it. Like I
fruition.
haven't given up on that stuff, but really, since I've started streaming and doing all this, and I've taken the time off and I've wrote a story and I
It's
have the
like
thing
the
that I want to
universe
work on now,
finally caught the right
like
kind of hyrule
I'm not
players to
as
embark on a solitary journey to find
into the
what
idea
they
as I used to
truly
be
want. Notably, the game
of like working
strives to
for
be a
others.
personal journey, and that applies to the story as a whole. I've always found the idea of
Now
the
it's just
game
like,
to be a
okay,
raucous and joyous celebration
set myself up so
rather
I
than
can
a
work for
bleak,
myself
really powerful
and hopefully
experiment.
give you guys
This
something to
accomplishment
look
is
forward to as well. I
enormously
mean,
grand, but not quite half
I'd
as
like to inspire
grand.
other
And
people
that
who are just like
inspiration
me, who kind of want to get into the
so
industry or just want to work
AGEX
on their
really
thing
becomes
and
virtually
they
a
just don't know how to do it.
series of simple
And it's
beats.
like, I know how to do
Something
it,
my mind can't really deal with going
so
through
why not
that.
let that be the content that I
Something to
make?
relax. And so of course Link departed Divine
So
City.
yeah, I mean, while I'm working on all this concept
A
art,
much more
I'm
complicated
also
story
like kind of
unfolds.
studying
He would never have
comic book
imagined
panels and
he would
manga
discover
panels and everything like
Hyrule
that,
and
and
navigate those
reading
secret paths in
scripts
mind, remembering what he
to
was missing.
uh,
And so he
be able
left,
to put my own together
leaving
one
what
day.
truly mattered to him in that moment. And that idea of realizing
So
and
that way, once I get
creating
done with all this
something
concept art
sometimes that really call for it
and
that
and
huge
I guess, the occasional study, like this Bayonetta thing
so
I got
anxious
going
about the
on.
story. Because that is what these people are ultimately faced with in this continuous 3 day cycle. In the face of certain death and surrounded by absolute despair, what do we do? How do we act? Who do we want to be with? And what do we spend our last valuable moments doing? Termina is a place of dreams and coalescing purposes. Stuck in this 3 day universe, we see a multitude of ambitions and motivations and very human desire, the ugly and the beautiful, the flaws and blemishes and serenity. Until things are resolved in the
So yeah,
end,
man, I
it
appreciate
is
it. I appreciate you
unending.
looking
Beyond
forward to
our
these
lives,
things.
we are exposed to the
They're coming.
possibility of mortality.
I just got to get
And we
through.
always
I want to
have
get through this study
choices.
because I told
How do
myself that
we
I'd do it
approach
one day,
dreaming of these
years
topics?
ago, and now that I'm finally here doing
Speak of
it,
our
it's like I
female
don't want to
heroes,
give it
a
up.
girl and her father, a woman and her
I'd
mother.
rather
The
get it done
unknown
with and then
journey of
move forward from it and
perseverance.
kind of just be like, yeah,
A tribe
I did
called
that. I did
Shimazaki.
that once
There are
upon a time,
giants that, regardless of
and
how
I'll
tough they get,
never have to draw it
find
again.
ways to put on a constantly laughing face to keep people smiling and keep spirits up, even in the darkest of
I'll never have
times.
to do another
Everyone has a different story,
fashion design
equally
study, another
profound and different as the light.
Bayonetta
And while
study.
not all of these are directly linked to the event of the moon crashing, they all have that
There we
common
go.
thread of the raw essentiality of what really matters. Because while the majority of the game is very anxious, the lasting impact is one of just as much empathy and compassion as there is unease. And the most effective personification of this would, of course, be Skull Kid. Years and years prior to the events of the story, in a very different Termina, an imp named Skull Kid made friends with 4 giants. A time came where the 4 proclaimed
So,
themselves enough and stand guard at the 4 corners of Termina to protect
so what you been
freedom
up to,
and
senpai?
order. Dividing Termina
How
into
was the
factions,
New
the
Year's?
giants stood in their respective
You make any
places, ready to deal with
resolutions?
any trouble that would potentially occur. However, the Skull Kid was left devastated by this, feeling betrayed due to being left alone by his friends. And as an outlet for his pent up negative feelings, he began to cause mischief and inconvenience all across the land. The citizens eventually grew tired and begged the giants to put a stop to this, and in turn, they demanded that the Skull Kid leave Termina at once, and even angrily stated that they punish disobedience with death. Having only acted out through what he perceived as a harmless temper tantrum, the Skull Kid was deeply scared and sobered by these words from those he once called loving friends. And with no other choice, he then left Termina. Yet, sometime later, and relatively close to the time span covered in the game, Skull Kid returned to Termina despite his banishment. He hid away from a nasty storm on his own and was found by Tattle and Tail, 2 enthusiastic fairies. After explaining his sad situation to them, the two acknowledge Skull Kid's feelings and connect with him as friends. However, despite this happy respite, Skull Kid's mischievous nature remained, and his 2 new friends were not quite enough to dissipate the sorrow in his heart. He steals the cursed and deeply powerful Majora's Mask after coming into contact with the Happy Mask salesman, and after putting it on, Termina as we know it and the giants were recreated using the Skull Kid's memories and emotions as a foundation. Subsequently, possessed by the mask, which exacerbated and feasted
That's
upon
good,
his
man.
negative feelings, Skull Kid began returning to his
Yeah,
old ways,
my New
but
Year's is
with a
pretty
slightly more serious extent.
pretty
The giants
lackluster.
hated
I just
Skull
spent
Kid
it
for
here.
it, and
I
despite
don't
his
have any
malevolent and malevolent
I don't really have any
ways,
family
and
around or anything
practices
like
that
that
were linked
where I'm at, so
indirectly in the body of a
I kind of
Deku,
just,
betrays his fairy friends and simply begins
made a
to
bunch of
rebel
phone calls and
as
talked to
his
them.
ultimate plan of having the moon destroy Termina comes to fruition. Now, there is a huge amount of subtext here which we can use to fill in some gaps.
I don't
For
really go out
instance, the
much.
Majora's Mask takes Skull Kid's
Kind of
memories to an
spend all
extreme,
my time
but
working,
Skull Kid is not actively
Like I
resisting
said,
it.
it's a tremendous amount of work, so anytime I can get in to get something done, whether it's,
So
studying or
regardless, he
writing
works his hardest
or
with enough
streaming,
strength and malice to the root within
um,
him to avoid exposing the side of himself that may
I
alienate
usually spend
others.
all my
The
off
parts
time
of him that carry the
working.
most emotional meaning are the parts that he keeps secret and hidden, and the parts that he does reveal just fester so kickstarting Majora's plan to doom the world. But if we fast forward to the end of the game, when Link defeats Majora and when Skull Kid's true face is exposed, that is when he is finally forced to show his weakness, and thus, that is when he's given the chance to be forgiven and accepted by others, no longer by himself. From a loving friend to a hurt soul just looking for bonds, to a mean spirited prankster, to an evil entity taken advantage of, and finally, back to square one. It's here where a parallel between our protagonist and antagonist is made obvious, as we see what are in essence two young kids who have gone through hell, who both came to Termina in search of a friend. Link looking for Navi, and Skull Kid looking for anything. Even the entity of the mask, Majora itself, is stated to have been lonely to some extent, with its desire to destroy the world and consume everything perhaps some twisted way of gaining closeness with others in a method that it had not been able to ever really achieve. Throughout the narrative, this game exemplifies the pain of having to lose connections in life to people, places, memories, everything. And that is without a doubt very tragic. But Skull Kid, and maybe even Majora itself, exemplifies something even more so: the pain of not having, or believing oneself to not have, any connections to lose in the first place. One of these types of pain is a terrifying and sad process that everyone will have to go through eventually, and the other is something that no one should go through, a pain potent enough to doom the world. This story is a contemplative piece, indirectly following the sad trials of a lonely, insecure kid who unfortunately filled the hole in his heart with all of the wrong things, but thankfully came through it all right in the end, thanks to the courage and empathy of others. But it's also much more than that. It's an examination of people, seeing what they cling to in their final moments, lamenting what they will lose and what could have been. From having fun and going about their lives and wondering what that strange thing in the sky is, to bracing themselves for imminent death. The entirety of Majora's Mask is a journey through the agonizing struggle that humans go through in trying to conceptualize and eventually accept both their mortality and what their existence is worth, as the situation essentially forces them to confront what really matters in the end, and what they have and who they wish to be. Some have quite a lot, and can face this doom knowing that they lived a life of worth despite it being cut short, and some just can't relate and cling on to insubstantial bits of nothing because in the end, that's all they really have at this moment. And that is equal parts intimate and horrifying. Personally, I always needed to be in a specific frame of mind to play this game, because every time I stepped back into Termina, I was very aware that I was touching upon something very
There we
similar.
go. Come on.
This may sound silly, but Majora's Mask just isn't a casual experience for me.
So yeah,
I don't
let's
just
hope
have a game, but
2022,
it refrains from
before
dwelling
the
on
end
the
of this year, I
problems
could
too
start setting
much,
up
and Link himself is essentially the
better
villain.
streams,
Through his experiences, he has obtained
get through
fundamental
this
character and
Bayo
personality traits of dark
study
and light, which allows him to have the perseverance and kindness to help these people. Not easily and not
sooner rather
immediately,
than
but
later.
through painstaking repetition and trial and error, and a constant hope that there's a future past
And
all this. And that
yeah,
hope is
man, since I
essentially
got what,
what
two
Link
maps
is
done
building
last year,
slowly. A hope to jump that
like
hurdle,
two
and
maps,
finally leading to enough self-value and belief to understand that you are good enough for others, and that despite your blemishes,
I would
you
hope
are
to
worthy
get the
of
next two
love. It
maps
may not change some of the end result of the game
completed.
in some instances,
That'd be
but it
nice
will make your time in this
as far
world
as like setting
worthwhile,
goals.
however long it is.
I know that the next map I'm gonna work on after this one, after I get the next set of
Ultimately, this
characters,
is where
these
life dictates your
what,
path.
7 characters
Similar to
plus the
Bayonetta,
12 girls, so
I found that
almost,
through it,
19
at
characters,
the good
almost
and
20.
bad end, there is something
And then I
oddly
jump onto the
rewarding
next
about
map.
helping some of these characters to find enough peace to accept their fate and
Uh,
appreciate their life for what it was.
yeah,
Perspective
that
is
next map
essential
is
here,
gonna be one of the main
but of course, there are
main
some
land
extreme
pieces,
conclusions this
or
story.
It's a pretty big country or continent, whatever you want to call it. Has a lot of main characters in it. Has a lot of locations and history and lore and all that other stuff. So yeah, this will definitely be the year that I get around to doing that and working on that stuff. And there's a lot of interesting characters there. So yeah, I definitely look forward to that and kind of showing off those concepts a bit. And hopefully, it gets people excited for the story that I'm working on. All the characters I've worked on so far, not that they're not important, but they've been pretty insignificant and they're kind of on the outskirts of it. They're kind of the weirdos of the story. They're not main characters at all. So it's been pretty weird, the characters that I've worked on so far.
Everyone starts to celebrate. But the quite sad aspect to all of this is that since this land of Termina was formed as a result of the Majora's Mask's power, it inevitably fades from existence very soon after we take our leave. Link moves on and continues his journey through the quiet forest, as we see him encounter an unusual light ahead of him. Perhaps this is a signifier of his return to Hyrule, maybe feeling as though he's found some of the peace that he sought through his adventure in Termina. Or perhaps this
And
light
yeah,
is
hopefully,
continuing his
like the
long search
artwork
for Navi. Whatever his
will
goal may be,
start
Link
to
may not be alone aside from Epona.
inspire
The
people
Hyrule story states that his whereabouts after this point are
to get
still unknown,
commissions and things like that.
a visual
The
hint
sooner I can
towards the mysterious light
start to
ahead.
support myself, the sooner I can,
Has always stuck with me, with all of the murkiness surrounding this ending, ensuring that it leaves us with a lonely feeling, just like the rest of the game. Throughout, there is happiness, horror, sadness, and everything in between. But overlying everything is this strange melancholy that never
the
fully
sooner I can
leaves
be
us.
more independent
It's
with all this
bittersweet
and
for me, a feeling
spend less time
uncertain
working,
until inevitably almost
at
certainly
my
leads
job.
back towards the
Probably switch
simplicity
it to
and
part
almost
time.
masterwork of a video
That'd
game.
be awesome, you
Many
know?
thanks for watching. first trick that I really want to get across is just how much easier all of your rendering will be if you work this way. And from here, I want to get into some of the advanced techniques that really separate rendering from looking like this and maybe a little bit hairy and a little bit unprofessional to something that looks much more professional. I'm going to use the same shape. And what I want to do is I want to soften my form. So I'm going to soften out here and I'm going to soften out here. And so I'm going to start really along the form like this toward my fade. There's one here, and now I want to come out this way, and so I'm going to do the same thing here. And you can see that right away has a much cleaner, much more effective look to it. And I highly recommend that you practice this. A good way to do it is to just draw half moon shapes, something like this. I guess it doesn't have to be quite so deep. And what we're going to do is we're going to fade out both sides of this. I'm going to start in the center. I'm starting my rendering along the edge of the form.
What the hell just
I'm going to fade
happened?
out this shape. I'm going to do the same thing
Yo,
here.
my hand just slipped
And I really
like
recommend
crazy.
that you
How did
work on
that
this
happen?
shape right here as an exercise and do several of these until you can get a nice even fade like this. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some shapes together. And this is something like what I might do if I was drawing a rib cage or something along those lines. And I'm just going to start rendering the way that I see a lot of times, and it is technically correct. Basically, the idea is if I have a tube and we have it in space and it's coming toward us like this, then all my rendering is going to follow along that form. And that's really the fundamental understanding that will make your rendering give your forms dimension. But that's not really enough. And so I'm going to render this the way that I see done quite a bit. And my forms are all going to render basically around like this. And I'm just going through, I'm making sure all my sizing is consistent, my spacing is consistent, and I'm following the form. And so this is fine. This is really following the rules, but the effect that I'm getting is ultimately something that looks fairly hairy. And it's incredibly easy to fall into this trap. And you can see this is really cool for
Oh
you
yeah.
to get, but it's a very difficult thing to know why this happened and exactly how you can fix it. And so I'm going to go ahead and draw the same shapes again. And I want to make sure that these underlying shapes are fairly clean because I don't want it to confuse what we're doing with the rendering. So I've got the same shapes drawn again. And now I'm going to approach it much more in the way that I approach this right here. And you'll see the difference. So starting well within my form, starting very, very small, and then I'm going to fade out this edge. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now I'm going to do the same thing here, rendering along the entire form, but very small, and I'm starting to angle out toward the edge that I want to fade. And I'm fading out that edge, just like that. And now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to angle my paper because it's starting to get into an angle where it's difficult for me to draw a line. I'm going to fade out toward this edge. Now I'm going to do this last one here. And I have just about the same amount of rendering, but you can see this here really reads like it flows and it gives it a lot of air, and it feels like it's getting a fade that feels very pleasing to the eye, as opposed to this, which can really start to flatten the picture and make it look overwrought. So now that we have that established, I want to show you a few places where you can group together and things don't always work in exactly this way. Before we jump into the rest of the video, I wanted to take a minute and talk about Squarespace. It's been some of the progress I've made redesigning my own website. I've gotten a basic look together, I've put in a gallery of my YouTube videos and a portfolio of my work, and now I really wanted to focus on commerce. And so I set up a section with merch, and I put up a new t-shirt. I put it in a section with my courses, my in-depth lessons, and in my resources, and I started going in and dropping in all that content. From there, it's just a matter of setting up commerce with Squarespace, and
make sure these are fairly consistent. And you can see I actually went a little bit heavier on the other side, and I'm drawing the other side because I've got essentially this bowl shape, but I'm using rendering that goes crossways. And now what I can do is I can draw what I did here, and I'm just using that same concept, just like that, just to finish that out at the bottom. Now, with this shape here, I'm going to end up with something that's much more similar to this too, or really a more flattened version of this. They're really all the same. And so I'm going to come up just along here, just like that, along the bottom. I'm just going to soften just a little bit like that. Is really all you need. I can render all the way through, but all I need is to just soften what I really want soft. And this is how you can render much more cleanly and simply and get something that has a lot of nice flow. And you can get more complex from here and start adding a lot of cross-hatching, but I think it's really important to get comfortable with this before you go ahead and start doing that, if that's the way that you want to go. So just a little bit more here, I'm going to fade this out. And you can see that really fades that out into the rest of the rendering. I'm following basically the same line down. I'm fading this off and just softening it. I can also come in and soften this just up here too, just like this. And so there's my arm rendered. All I'm doing, I'm not rendering toward the light, and I'm not just rendering directly across the form. I'm trying to render toward the fade. I'm going to do the same arm again. I'm going to do it the wrong way, the way that you'd be more inclined to do it if you're not thinking in these terms, and show you why it's so easy to end up with rendering that can get very stiff, clunky, and overbearing. So here we go. We've got the same basic structure, certainly close enough, and I'm going to bear in mind that by rendering, my form is basically directly across from it, so it would just be like this. And so I'm going to go ahead and start rendering that way. And so there you go. Now, I try to be very careful to make sure that all my rendering is nice and consistent, evenly sized. I've even created some nice fades. I've got a fade coming through here, but I went directly across along the form, and I stayed relatively even length with all of my rendering all the way down the form. You can see while it technically works, it really looks very, very stiff. And this is something that I see all the time, and it's a very difficult thing to diagnose when you're really not aware of what you're rendering along the form in order to get these kinds of fades. It's a very simple thing, but it can be very difficult to pick this up on your own and really understand why this works and why this doesn't, when this is really technically correct. So I want to show you some work from the time when I was really narrowing down my rendering to its basic minimums. And I want to show you some of the techniques that I was using to make that really work without being either useless or overbearing. And I'm calling this video Advanced Rendering Techniques, but it's actually really very simple. And you'll notice that I'm really not using, aside from this tiny little bit here, any cross-hatching. It's all just single line rendering to soften forms. And it really is the difference between fading out toward your fades versus rendering all the way through just along the form, which is really the way that I've been describing it so far. And I feel like I've been doing a bit of a disservice. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business, and to do it all incredibly easily. So I'm remaking my own website with Squarespace right now. When you jump into the Squarespace website, right at the top it will show you an option for templates, which I love because it's a huge head start right out of the gate. I started by putting a logo right at the top, changing some of the text, putting in an image. All I had to do was just click on the image, upload my own, and size it in their own software, and it's ready to go. That literally took me a couple of minutes to do, and I had never used it before. I decided I wanted to put a gallery into my site, so I started with just a simple template for that. It came with some pictures already included, and jumping in my own could not have been easier. I fought last year with my website trying to get images sized correctly so they work properly in a gallery. This one automatically sizes them. You wouldn't have to think about it at all. It is really incredible. The website builder has a menu that will give you all the options you could possibly need for a site. I put in a video gallery with some highlights from my YouTube channel, and I integrated it with my Instagram. And within minutes, I have a site that has almost all the content that I spent 2 months fighting to get last year. I cannot tell you how fade it just like that. If this didn't end in a hard shadow at the bottom here, I would have rendered it out downward this way. But because I'm coming back up, I want to render up along the fade this way. And so now I'm going to render this along the fade here. Very, very simple. Maybe just a little bit here. Fade that out. Just a little here. It really doesn't need much. As a matter of fact, I could actually leave, and I think maybe I should, all of those sorts of shapes. Just completely alone. I want to connect this though. So now I am actually going to use this directionality. And I've already got my fade kind of established, and so I can just
All
implement
right.
that. And that'll really work for cross-hatching because I already have a good fade established below that. And so I'm going to do the same thing here. I want to fade this to where it gets softer here. Then I'll just bring it up to that thing right there, just like that. This right here is a similar kind of bowl shape. I'm going to render up out of that, just like that. And now this is going to fade out down toward it. So I want to fade just like this. I'm going to fade this too. So a little bit here, I'm going to fade this out. So as I fade, my rendering gets a little bit longer. Here too. Now I've got a cut through here. I've got a bit of a hole that's coming through. So I'm just going to render just along, just like this, just to soften that a little bit, and I can come up just to finish that. And now I've got another bowl shape here. I'm going to come along this and soften inside that. I'm just going to go through all of these, soften out. But I don't want to end up with something like this, where I'm evenly, heavily rendering all the way across these forms. And so, same thing here is very, very little, and I'm starting well into my dark shape there. That's really all I need, and I can actually extend that out. Just like this, I can do the same thing here. And just soften those. Soften this last one here. It needs very little for that to really work. I'm going to do the edge of this form here. The form is wrapping this way. I want this to fade though, and so I'm going to angle down toward the fade. Just like that. And with just that, I've got this whole area really rendered as much as I need it. Anything more that I do there is just extra. This is really the essentials for getting this kind of a rendered look and getting something that gives you the nice flow that you're looking for. And really, it's a debate that I've had with myself over the years, whether this is something that I should stick with or whether I want to keep rendering much more heavily like I tend to do now. And just to show you, this really represents the basis for my rendering. However I render it now, no matter how much I put in, if I want to put more here, then what I'll do is I will come up along the form like this and go crossways and do a fade like that. And that'll give it a little bit more, but you can see it's really not necessary to make this work. I'm going to go ahead and fade this here, just like this. Fade this. So I'm fading out this way just a little bit, coming up and angling it toward this fade up here. There it is. And now I'm going to do the same thing here. And angle it up toward that fade there. And just a little bit here. It really doesn't need much at all. I can really, for the most part, leave this whole area very open. A little here. And I don't want to obliterate my forms with rendering. It's just going to fade out like that. And so I'm just trying to make sure that it accentuates what I have in the boundary. I'm going to fade this way, and this way. And these should really match. Now on the other side, my pencils tend to be a little bit loose, and you can see where there's a little confusion here and there in terms of what my line is and what's construction line underneath it. And this is why inking is really such a difficult job, and it doesn't give the credit that it deserves. Fading that out just like this, and I'm going to leave this whole area there. I don't think that really needs anything. And so now I want to come up along here. It's a harder surface, so I want to And this is really just giving it a little texture. And I've got this shape here that I want to soften upward. You can see when I press too hard, I end up with something that's much, much sharper. And I have at times actually gone ahead and just dabbed it with my meat eraser to solve that. Move these around. And this is just following the form, not really softening into a fade with this. That's just really wrapping around the form. And the same thing here. We can just clean this up a little bit here. It's a little more clear. So now I've got his lower cape here, and I've got a bit of a fold coming out here, and the whole thing around is just felt like this. So all I want to do is fade this little fold here, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to match it and keep this nice and airy around the entire thing, just to give it a little texture. On this side, I've got some shapes that I kind of want to fade, and so I'm going to fade this one upward here like this. And this one, that's really all that it needs. Some of this is going to be a little bit more obscured, so I can go darker here and use this rendering more like I did here, just to round the overall form. Do the same thing here. Just darkening that whole area. And so I've got another fold defined up this way, and I'm sure by now you know exactly how I'm going to go ahead and do this. Starting here, rounding around the form, and following my form, and then I'm just going to start angling up towards the fade and establish that fade in there. And I can do the same thing on the other side. Down this shape here. And I'm going to round this shape just with some very broad kind of lines. These lines here aren't really meant to soften form so much as describe form and give you some texture. Do the same thing here. They're just really texture. Very, very simple though. Here I'm rounding around and softening that form there. Got a bit of a fold here that's going to come up, and so we soften that one up into it. Make sure that I'm decently defined so I can see what I'm doing. And I've got another one here. And that's really all I need to give me that illusion of a nice organic feeling. So what we're left with now are his boots and some of the details in his figure. And all I need is just a little bit. I've got a rounded, softer shape here, which I've got partly defined. And so I'm going to do the same thing I did with Bane earlier on, and just draw very
There it
strong
is.
lines along here, and then define the other side of it just like that. And that really describes that shape very nicely. I'm going to do the same thing here. This I want to be underneath, so I'm going to make this a little bit dark, and I'm just going to fade it using these kinds of techniques here. Push it into the background. Now, these lines here, a little blunt here, and just kind of define that edge again. Do this here and fade this side. And now I'm just going to do what I did here and just give it some texture. And I've got a bit of a shadow in here that I can go ahead and fade upward, just like this. And for the rest of this, I'm just going to go ahead and just use some rendering more like texture. Off in that edge here, just a little bit. It's not quite as sharp. And I want this to fade back. So as I go further down, I'm going to go a little bit heavier with the lines here. And I'm just a little bit thicker here, softening that edge here to make that edge. And a little thicker here, and I'm creating a fade all the way down that thing. Very, very simple. And this one. And so that's really all I need. This figure is completely rendered. It really took me very, very little time, and it's using a few very simple techniques. So I hope this helps you render your own work even more sparingly and with much greater effect. In another video, we'll take what we've done here and we'll add far more rendering to it and build it in layers and try to make it all work without overpowering the figure. Something that, as you can see, is very easy to do, even just with one pass of rendering if it's done inappropriately. The more comfortable you are creating fades and just softening with your rendering, the easier it will be for you to use it strategically in your own artwork. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to tune in every Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern for Monday Night Draw with American Game, and I will see you in the next video.
We consider Thank you.